Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Let me get my clipboard so I can take notes. I will be reading the dreams off of my computer screen, which is over on this side. So if you see me looking over there, it's because I'm reading. I tried to make the font big enough, but still be able to have big chunks of text. So, wish me luck. As I'm going through, I'm going to be taking down what I consider to be the salient parts of the dream also. And then we can analyze it together. I do have the chat popped out too, so I should be able to see what you guys are saying in the chat. Okay, sorry. So, this first dream, there is a disclaimer that there's more context given at the bottom because they didn't want it to influence on the front end the perceptions about the content of the dream. So let's see. It happened 1 year ago. And they become aware of themselves in a tropical land like a jungle, not a place they know from real life. And they didn't remember anything distinct enough to place. Weather was perfect, kind of warm, like mid-70s, a little bit humid, a pleasant breeze, and the ocean and the clouds and the sun. And they look around and there's a Mormon church. So far we've got the jungle to the beach. So possibly like an island setting of some kind. We've got a Mormon church, and it was in the country and only a few houses were visible. But far in the distance, they see a city. So we went through a couple of transitions of place. And they said the church looked similar to other ones that they had been in. Their whole extended family and many of their friends were in the parking lot, talking and waiting for the meeting to start. And then everybody goes inside. So, meeting with family and friends. Remote, familiar. And then they go back outside. And they notice their cousin was present, who was doing their mission missionary work at the time, both in the dream and in real life. And he was supposed to be in Michigan. And they'd been sent home because of coronavirus. They were all being like put up in a motel, I guess, and not allowed to go out except to buy groceries and to go to church on Sunday. And so the dreamer got impertinent about this because he felt like the church was wasting his cousin's time. If he wasn't proselytizing, he could just go home and be with his family and friends. So I guess they had to quarantine. But didn't press the issue. And because no one else was bothered by it, so they just let it go. And the cousin said that he was happy doing what God wanted him to. So we have cousin, specific family member. Following a religious path that the dreamer is at odds with. And so then the dreamer is walking barefoot down a dirt road. But it wasn't uncomfortable to be barefoot. And they're walking toward the city that they had seen in the distance from the Mormon church. Just as an update on scenario, they were wearing like a white shirt, gray slacks, top couple buttons undone. Okay. And the further they walked, the closer into town they got, the more houses there were, and more people on the road. But they were speaking an indistinct language, whereas everybody at the church had spoken English. So now we have another part of the dream where entering the city, new way of life, unknown language. So, I mean, so far it sounds like you're leaving that old life behind. And even though it's very familiar to you, you don't want to sacrifice the same parts of yourself that you've seen your other family members sacrifice. And I think this leads to like a lot of turnover then, because you had a lot of location changes early on in the dream mentioned, and now we're going into you entering this unfamiliar city where people are speaking a foreign language. Well, it's foreign to you, obviously, it's their native tongue. So they continue to walk, and the people on the road became crowds, going like in the same direction, so everybody's kind of walking to the same place, I guess. And they finally come to the city. Streets narrow and winding, buildings mostly made of wood or whitewashed plaster, several open squares with open-air markets. And so then they decide to go to their friend's house, even though they didn't know where it was in the city. So even in this foreign place, you still have a friend. Okay. And I'm just taking notes so I can make sure that I don't miss anything. But don't think I'll need to do a recap at the end necessarily. This is the exciting part where I scroll down and I try to only scroll down a little bit. It seems like the Google spreadsheet likes to scroll down a lot. So bear with me just a moment if you would. Alright, I'm gonna have to open this up in a text document because it's very long. But I want to be thorough. Okay, so a dark alley type building. So now we're going into a different kind of a place, which is a darker building. To further contrast from the previous setting of the Mormon church, where everything was probably very well lit and there were a lot of familiar people around. And so then go into a bar, have an interaction with a young girl and a boy. Oh, and this thing about the phrase, Gabor Nostrum. Let's see. Yeah, Gabor Nostrum. So it's spelled like. Spelled like this. So let's see if that means anything. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a religious phrase in Latin, but I can't exactly pin it down. My Latin's pretty rusty. I do kind of feel like this person says they're ex-Mormon, but I really feel like I'm being trolled by a Mormon right now. I could be wrong. I see you guys out there. of this dream is that, excuse me, sorry, mouth sounds, that you are coming to terms with the uncertainty that comes with searching rather than just accepting the path that your family and specifically like the cousin in the dream have chosen, that you tried that and you felt like it didn't work for you. And so now you're trying out all these other things. It says down at the bottom that you're actively searching for God or that higher power, so that makes a lot of sense in the context of your dream. And it does seem like that was a lot of the content of that dream. Well done. You nailed it. So now I have to try to scroll to the next one, and then I'll put a timestamp. Hi, Kayla's lovely. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. Okay. Here we go. So the next... Oh, I have to look at my timestamp. Great. Perfect. So the next dream is from 2B. I often have vivid dreams, but this one seemed particularly real. It occurred in a surreal gymnasium of sorts, with bone-white pillars, shimmering blue curtains for a backdrop in every direction. In style, it seemed to be like Roman imperial era, very bred in circuses. They knew, like in a quasi-lucid state, that this place was not on Earth, but it might mimic or affect the real world in some fashion. So it sounds like some kind of Mount Olympus type place. Sorry, popped my pee. Didn't mean to do that. And they were just there to observe. The gymnasts were all teenagers, you know, like little baby gods, basically, and didn't notice or pay him any attention. Him, them, her, the dreamer. They proceeded to play a series of games in phases: athletic, artistic, academic, and finally, like, war games. So kind of like the Miss Universe pageant or whatever, except it's like, you know, who's the best teenager. So the academic phase, the competition was getting really cutthroat. So by the war phase, they were like literally battle royale. Alright, so we have some kind of overprivileged battle royale type situation. Like some kind of prep school thing. So already what I'm seeing in this dream is like there's this idealized world and there's like a lot of competition to get to this idealized point. So I don't know if you're like in entertainment or any kind of creative pursuit, or if you're involved in an industry that has a lot to do with physical appearance or the appearance of things. So it could be like, like fashion or media, but it could also be like interior design. And again, I'm not saying this is the case. I'm saying that that's like something that could result in a dream of this kind, if that makes sense. Or be indicative. Yeah, I'm really getting like a prep school vibe from this. So you could even be like someone who's involved in academia in some way. But they're in the war phase, they're not allowed to kill each other, but they could humiliate one another to exalt themselves. And then one becomes the king, and he has to pull a sword out of a stone. So there's like a tie-in to like legend and mythology here, for sure. Okay. And the sword and stone hung from the gym ceiling, like upside down. And so after the dreamers saw him take the sword, an old man in blackened sackcloth steps up and asks, "Do you comprehend what you have witnessed here?" And the dreamer was troubled and woke up before they could answer. So I definitely think there's the potential there for a lot of these elements to be us working out parts of our daily life in dream states in ways that we wouldn't have the opportunity in our waking life. And this seems like that kind of a dream. Like, I don't know what this person's work situation is like, but it seems like there's a lot of competition in that field, and that there's a lot of emphasis on appearances. Now, of course, I could be very off base, because I don't know this person. If this is me reading your dream, comment down below and let me know. Alright, so the next timestamp. And separate. There we go. So this person has a reoccurring dream where they're in the woods by their house, and there's like a road that goes through the woods, and they keep trying to get from one side of the woods to the other side of the woods, but they're walking and they're not in a car, and it's not the normal paved road. It's like a walking trail, and there's obstacles and like rocks and stuff. So, okay, we're walking a familiar path. Changed by dream perspective. And so obviously you're not in a car, you're walking. So you're not going to be going as fast. Your mobility is reduced. And that might be something that is going on in your waking life, that you feel like you've had to slow down somewhere. And you just want to be able to go fast through the woods. And there's all these obstacles that you're not anticipating, and the path is different than how it usually is, it sounds like, too. So it should be a very familiar path to you, but in the dream, it's completely new. This could be like a couple of things. It can be symptomatic of imposter syndrome, where you feel like you're not equipped to comprehend, even though this might be a path you walk every day, that even if you walk it every day, you're still not an expert about it. And then we also had this might be, so because it's a recurring dream, this might be a dream that you have during periods of your life that have a lot of unforeseen circumstances tied up in them. Unforeseen circumstances. Okay. And then there's always something in the woods you're scared of disturbing, like an animal that could attack, or hunting people that could attack you, that you're trying to hide from as you're crossing through the woods. And then you always wake up before you make it to the other side of the forest. And there's like a level of healthy concern, like worry in the dream, but not terror, not fright. And sometimes you'll end up disturbing whatever it is that you're trying to be very subtle about that might be in the woods. Sometimes you wake that up and it'll chase you, but it doesn't catch you. This definitely sounds like the kind of dream you would have that would be instigated by problem solving in your waking life. So that you might feel like you're being cornered, hence like the things like lurking around. The path is supposed to be familiar, but instead it's stymied, and it's very different from what you're used to. Yeah, it sounds like the kind of dream you would have in transitional parts of your life. But let me know if that's the case. I do want to get you guys feedback on the dream interpretation, if at all possible, because I'd love to know your thoughts. Alright, so this is going to be our last dream for the live stream, unless any of you pop into the chat and have any dreams that you want interpreted. Alright, so 30. So this final dream, this person, the dreamer, recently was house hunting with their dad, who's been gone for 8 years. And when they walked in, one of them was an evil cult. Or an evil cult had successfully summoned a bunch of lesser demons that looked a little bit like the original Doom game, which I'm not super familiar with, but I think I kind of understand what you're talking about. And you were tasked to kill them with a 2x4 and then cast the spell to banish them back. and you don't remember the spell very well, but there were planetary elements, chaos elements, and angelic magic involved. So it's very interesting that you had this dream, and I can't scroll over far enough to see if you want it to be anonymous or not, but I'm sure that you'll recognize the dream when you watch the video. So I'm not going to say your name in the video, just in case you want it to be anonymous. And I hope you understand. I don't want to mess it up. Oh, hi Kara. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you're having a lovely night. So this dream, first of all, we're house hunting. Houses in our dreams can actually represent a lot of different things. It can represent the state of your life overall. It can represent your psyche and the compartmentalization of your psyche. It can represent your relationship with your family, all kinds of different stuff. So with this house hunting, we have a bonding experience between the parent and the child. And in fact, it's important that you use the term house hunting, because then we get to a part where an evil cult has created this demon situation inside this house. Which is great. You can always get a discount on a haunted house, right? So they look like the demons from Doom. And just like in a video game, you beat them with a 2x4. Sometimes things that haunt the house, depending on what the house represents. Like if the house represents your psyche, sometimes the house being haunted means that you feel out of control of your life. Because I also have haunted house dreams. And the fact that your parent was helping you with this house hunting experience, and with ridding the property of these demons, it seems very much like you have a good support system around you. Now, we get into the part of the dream where you're actually doing magical work while you're asleep. This can be a little bit scary because it's very unpredictable. You have to trust that the self that's in the dreams has the same motivations and the same morality as you and would do the same work. And sometimes you have control over it and sometimes you don't. But if you're working on this specific banishing and it's with your family like this, it's a good bet that this is something that you're supposed to be doing. And so basically this is like you kind of doing all of those rituals like as part of your unconscious state, and potentially you're also like astral projecting while you're doing this, but not necessarily. There's like the split there between like the work that you do with the psyche ritually and then the work you do astrally, and sometimes you bridge that gap and you're doing both. But there's sometimes where you're just doing the one, which is the conscious cerebral work, but then you're also the unconscious astral work and being able to transcend the physical experience. So, I hope that makes sense. Let me know down in the comments. But yeah, if you ever do remember stuff from those dreams, make sure you document it as fully as you can. A lot of times you can go back and source that and do the, now that we have Google, you can like Google anything. And a lot of times you'll get results, and then you can fill in the gaps. And lo and behold, a ritual from dream work. Alright, so that is going to conclude the dream interpretation video for this quarter or time period. Oh, yeah. Actually, I absolutely would love to analyze your dream right now. Kayla's lovely. Please tell me. And I'll give you a little bit of time to write it in the chat. Okay. So, for those of you who don't have the chat open, I will read it. So, Kayla had this dream last night where they were downtown by the building where they used to work, so a familiar location, and one associated with work, and they're in business clothes. Oh, let me put the timestamp. Okay. Gotta make sure we get close to the beginning of the dream. And, so familiar location. Associated with work. Wearing business clothes, and the landscape is kind of like morphing and shifting around them as they're trying to get their errands done. So, unstable atmosphere. In this universe. Gosh, that sounds kind of stressful. I'm sorry. So the old CEO of the company, you ran into them a few times and it was mutually awkward. And they're trying to get new furniture in. And then you're on your way to a pitch meeting. So that does sound like kind of an awkward situation. So awkward run-in with former superior. Okay. And also that you've moved on with your life. That's what pitch meeting says. Okay. And you went down into the parking garage, which was also changing a lot. Just running around doing a bunch of errands. Yeah, that sounds like one of those like dreams where you wake up and you're not very refreshed because you've been running around all night trying to hold it together. gosh, I'm sorry. That sounds like a stressful dream. I mean, it sounds alright. Like, I don't think I would call in sick to work if I had a dream like that. But, it does sound like one of those dreams where you're kind of like rehashing old situations. Perhaps to kind of like, because you mentioned the pitch meeting specifically in association with this previous location where you had employment history. So, like, you're going off and doing your own thing and not needing to answer to anyone. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. But it does seem like you're kind of confronting the ways in which you might have had an idealized version of self-employment in your mind that then you see why, like, not everybody is an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean it's not for you, but you kind of sort things like that out in dreams like this because you're responsible for all of these, like, very nebulous things too as a small business owner. But that's kind of my take on the dream. What do you think? Oh, good. I'm glad that made sense. Sometimes after I'm done talking, I wonder if, like, what I said just made sense. Oh, yeah. So, if anyone else has a dream they'd like to share, that makes a lot of sense. Because the changing landscape shows the transitions too. So it can show, like, that things are changing in your life, but it can also be something that represents obstacles, because as it's changing, you're having to adapt to that. And I want to say too that I really appreciate you guys coming out for the dream interpretation live stream. Oh, Kara, I would love to hear your dream. Absolutely. You have to think about too that nighttime is when the astrocytes go through, well, whenever you sleep, the astrocytes go through your brain and they clean up basically like all of the waste products that accumulate. Like, so much of your body just goes to powering your brain so that you can think. And yet so many of us squander it, like me. squander it all the time. But yeah, I'll give you some time to type out your dream, Kara, so take your time. Okay, so let me put the timestamp so we can skip. Skip later. 46:40. Okay, so Kara says, a few nights ago, I dreamt I was in a hospital. The light was bright, and like most hospitals, the colors were white, pale blue, and light green. And you'd been in there for a few days, at the least, in and out of consciousness, and realized you were there because you were pregnant and you were in labor. So that's very interesting. Let's write down some of the elements that we see in the dream so far. So we've got a hospital. It's a very sterile environment, but it's also very bright. We've got multiple day. Stay. It would be a difficult pregnancy if you were in and out of consciousness. Do you have any children, or are you interested in having children? And then having a son. Okay, so then the next part is that you have a partner in the dream that you don't have in real life. And that's the father of the child. And consequently, with this, you have no memory of pain or the birth process, and your son has already been named. And the naming is a really powerful thing too, because when we create something of ourselves, we should be the one to name it. So the partner gave the child the name, but you have a disconnect from that. Okay. is a really beautiful name for a boy. Let's see if the name Kellen comes up on Google. There's a singer by that name. Oh, from Sleeping with Sirens. Interesting. What is the meaning? It means slender. Slender Man. It's a Gaelic name. Sorry. Oh, no kidding. That's really cool, Jared. Yeah, that's interesting that there's like a Sleeping with Sirens connection to that name too. I don't know if that has relevance to you. So a lot of times pregnancy can be an analog in our symbolic subconscious language for the creation process overall. So this can be like projects that you want to work on. It can be representative of a process that you're undergoing. So like if you're in the middle of a job search, that can be a creative process also. Starting your own business, taking up a creative skill. Like my mom is a puppeteer, and she would make all these really beautiful puppets. And she has this other lady that she likes to watch on YouTube who makes like little paper craft stuff. It's this marvelous French woman who like does little bunny rabbits and these fanciful trees and all that. So that would fit into that as well, that kind of creative process. But it sounds like there's a disconnect there between the point where the creative process is taking place and then you kind of black out in here, and then you come to and everything's like already been created. Like, how convenient for you, that you get to skip, but those are valuable parts to you, obviously. So there might be something like that this happens a lot in the workplace too, where yeah, it's a cool name. I never would have thought of that either. That's like a good trans mask name. Maybe that'll be my name. Just kidding. So, let me know if you feel like I left anything out of that interpretation. Or if you felt like it kind of covered all of the things you were wondering about. I'm always really fascinated by the intersect between your dream life and your waking life. Yes, okay. That makes a lot of sense, because I'm going through similar things at this time. So what Kara's saying is that they are changing jobs in the next few weeks and trying to dive back into creating art. So that push and pull between what you're passionate about and what you have to do to survive, to make money. Oh, yeah. Well, because we're programmed, I think, especially in Western culture, to see pregnancy a certain kind of way, when really pregnancy is a representation of creative process. It's a creative force. It's one of the most powerful creative forces that we have access to. But it's not the only one. But it can be an analog and a psychological symbol for a lot of different things, especially in dreams. Thank you so much to Kayla and Kara for sharing your dreams with us for interpretation. And all of the timestamps, I will put them down in the description box so that you guys can skip between the questions, because there can be like a little bit of dead space after the questions sometimes, so that people have the time to type in the chat. So if anyone else has a dream that they would like interpreted, I will leave the floor open and just do some triggers here. I'll give you guys a little bit of time to type, but there's no pressure, of course. Oh, good. I love when people have vivid dreams. Oh, yeah. Lay it on me, Kara. It's okay if things are a little bit dark. That's just how it goes sometimes. Okay, so I'll put the next timestamp here. Right at the hour mark. Excuse me. Sorry. So Kara says, I had a dream my mother and I were kidnapped into an abandoned asylum. There were like 40 to 50 other people in the room where they were being kept. All women, young and old. Everybody's standing in a circle, silent. So let's talk about the things that stand out. About this dream so far. There's quite a bit to unpack. So you're with your mother. talking about a situation that is specific to women. And I don't always bring gender into it, but sometimes gender can be symbolic of specific things in our own minds. There are a lot of things in my dreams that have to do with gender, where I'm like working through stuff. And you're all in a circle, silent, and there's like 40 to 50 people there. Okay. And so you're questioning why you were put there, and some armored people come in. They are going to make you do some tasks. So we have what has become a quest-based dream. We have authority figures. It doesn't sound like they are acting violent, but it sounds like they are coming across as very authoritarian. So authoritarian, not yet violent enforcers. Let's see. And so now Kara's typing out about the different tasks. So, first task. And take your time. I don't want to rush you. Okay. So you have to pick out this ribbon. You get 1 out of 12 ribbons. Let me see. Each a different color. And so you and your mom were both chosen to do this task, but obviously if there's like 40 or 50 people there and they only have 12 ribbons, like they're only expecting 12 people to do this part of it. And it seems like they're not necessarily trying to split you up from the people that you're with. So we have these enforcers of these tasks are ready to impose violence if necessary, but it also looks like they're more interested at this juncture in these nonviolent activities. So I'm not getting like an overt sense of like being threatened. But I don't know if you were frightened in the dream or if you were just kind of like, why are these people wasting my time? You also ask your mom which one you should pick. So your intention is for the two of you, obviously, to stay together and be released together. definitely looks like... Okay. So, your mom was allowed to leave, and you stayed behind, but your partner had the car waiting outside to make the getaway. So you're facilitating then for your mother this escape by means of your partner's help. I don't know what the relationship is like between your mother and your partner, but there is a means of escape there. And then as to the colors of silver and black, it might depend on what they mean to you. But of course, silver being a lunar correspondence, and then black being Saturnian correspondence, we have that lunar insight. Saturn can have to do with dreams and with things that are slow, and so can the moon. So it would make sense in dream work. So then the second task takes place. And it seems like you didn't take part in the second task. But that stage of the elimination then brings you down to like 20 people. So we have this gradual, like, the anxiety that kind of builds as other people are leaving and getting to go, and you're kind of like sitting around and waiting, and you're like, why haven't I been picked yet? Why is this still going on? Because already earlier in the dream, like the second block of text that you posted, you talk about how there was like a time element that you were conscious of. So I'm also curious if you were like feeling like you were wasting time while you were there, or if you were more relaxed, like what your mood felt like in the dream, how you were reacting to this situation. My computer keeps falling asleep. That's so amateur of me. Gosh, excuse me. Because I definitely get the sense from this dream that you are willing to go along with authority when it's nonviolent. Like, that doesn't, even if it's really ridiculous, like pick our favorite color of ribbon and we'll let you go. Like, that you're willing to go along with certain things like that. Maybe to, because like 40 or 50 people, if you had like 10 people who were armed, like, and we're talking like women and children, yeah, yeah, there's definitely a situation where you feel like things are unfair, but they're not like outright violent. And it might have to do with gender, with your experience as a woman. Okay, so a person came into the room and started talking to the crowd, and we're going to do the last task now, and only one person can do it. And if you try to help them, there will be consequences. So now we're like down to the final situation. Okay. So then, of course, you were chosen because you're the protagonist of the dream. And everybody steps away, and they bring in a gigantic dog. And you have to fight the dog in order to leave. Wow, that's a really intense dream. Oh my gosh, I don't think I've had to like fight for my life in a dream against a gigantic beast. That sounds really scary. And I guess we'll have to figure out how it ends shortly. Yeah, I'm having a hard time gauging, though, from your responses and the way that you've told the story, like how you felt emotionally, like in the dream, and then how you felt after. Maybe like you're gonna tell us that shortly. No pressure, of course. I'm just curious. Best noise ever or worst noise ever? Comment down below. I like this kind of like soft plastic sound tapping. I don't have very long nails, but my nails are like super hard and thick. Oh my gosh. So you feel yourself getting like bitten by this dog and like pulled apart. And then, and you're like, oh, my mom and my partner are not gonna know what happened to me. And just feeling like so upset furious that this could be going on. So it definitely sounds like there's something in your waking life where you feel like you've been singled out for punishment, and that you have taken on this punishment in order to ensure that your mother is absolved. I say mother specifically, but it could be things having to do with your mother and with your partner, and with the people around you. It seems that you would take that onto yourself based on this dream. But that's just one way to interpret it, of course. Okay, so the guards are like kind of nudging you closer to this dog, and you know you have to stay on your feet because if you go down, then you're totally screwed. And then you realize that there's some way that you can interfere with the dog's ability to tear you apart. So we're going to hear about that just shortly. I really like this way of doing it because you guys give us like little tidbits and we have to wait for the next part. Okay, so basically you turn into the hero of the story for real, and you're able to sick the dog on the guards, and then everybody who's keeping you there is taken care of, and everybody else can go free. You can all go free. So I guess you beat the system. You won the game. So I do think that there are things probably in your waking life that you think like that's incredibly unfair, and perhaps you're the kind of person who really goes after those things and tries to make them right if possible. But that would just be my interpretation, and especially because people like your mom and your partner are coming up, that you do these things to make the world a better place for the people that you love. So how did I do, you guys? Did I get any of them right? Did we all win? We all get an A+ on this book report about dream interpretation. I do love reading these. It's always such a trip. And it really is the kind of thing that it's difficult to get any kind of consistent feedback about. Like, I've been working with my dreams for years and years and years. You finally get to where you can pick out the little symbols and what they mean to you, because of course that's the trickiest part of all, is like, what context do these symbols have in your particular life? How do you connect to this certain idea? So that makes it very exciting. Oh, Kara, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your dream with us. I haven't been recording my dreams lately because I haven't been remembering them well enough to really document. It's more like the vibe. I've been having a lot of vibe dreams where like I'm in a place that seems like it could be this particular location or this other particular location, but that I don't remember what all is going on while I'm there. But on the other hand, I haven't had any really horrifying nightmares recently either, so that's also nice. So, we're coming up on 11:30, and I want to thank all of you. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes places I end up in the future. That's always fun. I want to thank all of you so much for participating, especially those of you who came to chat, but even those of you who watch this video later and get something out of it. Your support is so greatly appreciated. And until we meet again, I look forward to seeing you very soon. Oh, Kara, yes, I have done my own dreams in previous videos. I don't remember which playlist, but I think it might be the divination playlist. I need to cross-reference them with Q&A maybe. But thank you, and I'll see you very